Hello, my name is Carolina Mercado and welcome to my video response for the class SBS 110 Introduction to Sociology at Aspen University taught by Professor James Ford. This assignment is for Module 3, Social Structure and Interaction. Just a disclaimer, I will be also submitting the written portion of this assignment just to include the title and reference page. So let's get started. Life is a movie, and everyone is both the main character and the narrator of their own story. Henslin explains the meaning of dramaturgy as Joffman, 1959 to 1999, used the term to mean that social life is like a drama or a stage play. Birth ushers us onto the stage of everyday life, and our socialization consists of learning to perform on that stage. 2019 on page 115. If we use this view to interpret society, then everyone has a role to play. Everyone has similar roles: the daughter or the son, a student or teacher, wife or husband, and our unique interpretation of those roles is called role performance. We critique performance in films and television series. Those who excel to captivate their audience receive awards and more role opportunities, while those who performed poorly are discreetly pushed out of the spotlight. The same can be said when it comes to evaluating society. A successful student will receive praise, merit awards, and more opportunities to further their education, whereas a poor student will be scolded, more likely to continue to fall behind and not reap from similar benefits. According to Steve Bassett, drug dealers, for example, may be multimillionaires, but they aren't well respected and therefore aren't ranked high in a stratification system based on status. On the flip side, an academic working in a university may earn a relatively modest salary, but they command a fair amount of respect, prestige, and social honor. So they have a higher status. 2017 from minutes 636 to 704. According to sociologist Joffman, to communicate information about the self, we use three types of sign vehicles: the social setting, our appearance, and our manner. Henslin, 2019, on page 116. To illustrate this, imagine the framework of a university lecture. A professionally dressed professor in a lecture hall in front of their class, diligently listening. The professor gives their lecture with confidence and uses up the space in the front of the class to occasionally pace. If we were to replace certain aspects of this scenario, the energy of the room would change. For instance, picture a homeless man giving a lecture in a college bar. Regardless of the education level, the homeless man's appearance and lack of hygiene would deter students from completely engaging, and they would not view the speaker with such high regard. Furthermore, a bar is not an appropriate setting for a lecture. Distractions aside, people go to a bar to spend time with their friends and share a few drinks, not review information about an upcoming exam. Teamwork is not only an effective method in the workplace or in sports. Teamwork also allows a give and take relationship. In stand-up comedy, the teamwork displayed between the audience and comedian is essential for a quality show. It would be difficult for a comedian to perform in front of an unresponsive audience. The more silence a tough crowd gives, the less enthusiastic the comedian will become. As we are assigned and choose our roles, we eventually become them. My grandmother was an occupational therapist and later became a professor at NYU. Even 10 years after her retirement, she still identified herself with those professions. Whenever I injured my ankle in my youth, she would instruct me to avoid placing weight on it and rest my ankle in an elevated position. While she frequently reminded me that she was an occupational therapist. This shows how people embody a role that they have been playing for an extended period of time and how difficult it is to let go at the end of the role's term. Roles and role interaction hold society together by allowing people to identify who they are within themselves, as well as in relation to others to effectively navigate the world around them. Without roles, life would be meaningless and there would be nothing to achieve, all in a chaotic void. As with roles, social construction helps keep our society intact. If people define situations as real, they are real in their consequences, said sociologist W.I. and Dorothy S. Thomas, 1928. What has become known as the definition of the situation, also called the Thomas theorem. Henslin 19, page 121. I was brought up in a Lutheran household, and I spent most of my years living with my grandparents. I will always remember the late night talks I had with my grandmother and arguing with my grandfather to change the TV channel to something other than the news. My grandmother was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2015, and it was during my junior year of high school. Even before the diagnosis, my grandmother comfortably discussed her inevitable death in hopes to prepare me. Just like Sunday school, we talked about how the recently deceased joined their ancestors in heaven's paradise and watched over their descendants. This made my ideas of death less frightening, since it seemed to be a comforting experience to be reunited with past loved ones in one place. My grandfather, however, had other ideas about the afterlife. He identified as an atheist, and he believed that once someone passes, they cease to exist without an afterlife. As my grandmother's health continued to deteriorate, I refused to talk about anything involved with death or faith. When she passed away at the end of 2020, it was incredibly difficult to accept, and I thought I could hear her call out to me. Meanwhile, my grandfather held on to his views. I often asked, "Grandpa, how can you say she doesn't exist anymore? Don't you feel like she's still here in the house?" Then he would reply, "No, I said goodbye to her already. She's not here anymore." Since belief systems are a social construct, they allow people to explain and give meaning to their current reality. Society as we know it is held up by roles, ranking, constructs, and culture. Like how every individual is unique in their own right, variation extends to the masses as well, leading to the need for categorization. Placing groups of people into separate categories, even at random, members within that group will quickly find reasons that make each superior. By separating people based on race or financial status, this worsens social inequality. Even societies that claim to have a classless system, like the Soviet Union, still ranked people according to financial status. Crash Course states, just as the Indian caste system and the feudal estate system place their limits on certain groups, the American class system limits just how far hard work can take some people. The U.S. class system tends to reproduce existing class inequalities because the advantages you start with have an incredibly powerful impact on where you end up. 2017 from minutes 723 to 740. This demonstrates how social inequality is not limited to one culture and is deemed necessary for that society to thrive. However, social inequality is not necessary, nor is it a fixed problem. Per Jürgen Grandel, that kept me thinking, in what society do I want to live in? Why do people feel left behind? My answer to that is, I want to live in a society where people actually step up for each other and people respect each other. So what is the glue for such a society? The glue is solidarity. TED Talks 2018 from minutes 122 to 154. Grendel believes that solidarity is demonstrated in taxes because it is one way people contribute to their society, as their money is used to fund public services. To increase solidarity, Grendel proposes that everyone spends 1 year after high school dedicated to a project that would benefit society. Overall, just like life, society is what you make it. In society's play, we have assigned roles that are both fixed and temporary as we change settings. We have social constructs like rank and religion that allow us to interpret our surroundings. Despite all of those predetermined factors, we do not have to live in a static society ruled by social inequality. By practicing solidarity, we can be stronger together. Thank you.